Smith County has fired its animal control and shelter supervisor for derogatory comments and allowing employees to use racial slurs. Amber Green was fired today for violating the county's anti-discrimination and harassment policies. Tonight, what we found in her personnel file and how Green herself is responding. According to this termination letter, Amber Green admitted to making derogatory comments in the workplace and allowed employees under her supervision to use racial slurs. In the letter, the county's HR director said making disparaging or inappropriate comments undermines the culture of respect and integrity we strive to uphold. Green had been on unpaid administrative leave since August 29th after a complaint triggered an investigation. Records obtained by KLTV showed just days before, Green had been put on 3 months of probationary oversight for a number of reasons, including failure to provide direction and guidance to staff regarding the animal control budget and poor communication with peers, public, and local organizations. Green was put on leave later that week.
I wholeheartedly believe when I went up to HR when she placed me on unpaid administrative leave, I wholeheartedly believe that the decision to terminate me was made then.
I am writing to express my strong support for Amber to remain as shelter supervisor.
Several people, including animal control employees, spoke in support of Green at today's commissioner's court meeting. Green's firing came soon after the court voted to put the issue in the hands of the HR director, as opposed to voting on her termination in court.
Instead, we just put it back with our HR director. I think she knows exactly what our intentions and feelings are on this. We discussed it thoroughly in executive session, so she will do the correct thing.
But Green feels the county only got one side of the story and plans on filing a grievance.
I wouldn't say wrongfully terminated as the word I would use, but I feel like a thorough investigation was not conducted.
And we have also learned another animal control employee was fired in connection with this investigation.